Hi everyone, myself Dr. Lakshmi Prasad, working as an associate professor in the Department of Data Science in Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. In this video, I'm going to discuss about the overview on tables and charts. So before going to see the presentation, how the data is going to be presented, so what are the various tools we are going to have. Normally, this presentation will be of two types like table presentation and visual presentation. The presentation will be of two types like table presentation and visual presentation. So again, this visual presentation will be of two types like graphical presentation and then diagrammatic presentation. So what are the various uses of principles and presentation? So the uses of presentation should be, it should be easy and better understanding of the subject, and it should also provide the first-hand information, and it should also be helps in future analysis, and also easy in making comparison very attractive. So these are the various uses of the presentation. So for the better understanding, and then should provide the first-hand information and the future analysis and making the comparison easy and attractive. So presentation should be very easy. And what are the principles of presentation? So for this, the data should be presented in simpler form and should also create and arouse interest in the reader, and should be concise with using important points, and should also facilitate the future analysis, and should also be define the problem and should also suggest a solution. So these are the various principles of presentation. So when I'm going to present visualization, so the data should be in simpler form. Should not show the excess of the data in presentation, and should also create some interest in reader, and you have to be concise the presentation but without losing these important points, and should also facilitate the future analysis and should also be defined and suggest a solution. So tabulation is nothing but a systematic and logical arrangement of classified data in the form of rows and columns. And for that, main importance is that simplifies the complex data, and unnecessary details and repetitions can be avoided, and it will also facilitate the comparison and gives the identity with the data, and should also reveal the patterns within figures which cannot be seen in the narrative form. Okay, so the tabulation means that so it should also gives the simplified the complex data, unnecessary details and repetitions of the data should be avoided, and should also facilitate the comparison, and should also give some identity to the data, and should also reveal the pattern within figures and cannot be seen in the narrative form. And some of the principles of the tabulation is that the table should be the table number should be assigned to the table, and we have to be given a concise title and give the explanatory, and the contents of the table should be clearly defined, and the head note to be written, and the classification and categories which can be found on the left side of the table, and the footnotes of any statement or note inserted, and source note, that means the source of statistics, and body means the main part of the table. So these are the various principles how to be followed for creating the tabulation. So the first thing is that you have to mention the table number, and you have to be clearly with the table name, and the contents of this table have to be clearly specified what is this meant for, and head note to be written, and stubs, footnote, any statement are not to be inserted, and source note and body, that should be the main part of the table. Precautions means the table should suit the size of paper, and the captions and stuff should be arranged in a systematic order, and unit of measurement should be clearly defined in the given table, and the figure should be rounded to avoid unnecessary details in the table, and footnote to this effect should be given. So the precautions what we have to be followed by creating this tabulation is that So the table should show the size of the paper. At the same time, we have to be carefully arrange the systematic order of captions and steps, and units of measurement should also be clearly defined in the table. So there are different types of tables like mm, based on the purpose and then from based on the content. If we are going to divide the table based on the purpose, we have to consider reference table, text table, and simple text table. Based on the content, it should be simplex and then complex table. Okay. So based on the purpose, we have two tables: reference one and then text one. So based on the content, it should be simple and then complex. So again, these complex tables are further transferred into double table, triple table, and then multiple tables. So like this, the tables are going to be classified. So based on the purpose as well as based on the content. So if the content means, so if the content should be simple, then it's okay. If it is complex one, then again I have to consider which table have to be constructed. So whether I have to construct double table, a triple table, and multiple table like this. Next, we are going to see the what are various graphs and diagrams. So what is the graph? So graph is nothing but a two-dimensional drawing showing the relationship between the two set of numbers by means of lines, curves, and series of bars or other graph. So typically an independent variable is going to be present on x-axis and a dependent variable are going to be presented on y-axis. And perpendicular axis also intersect at the two lines what we are able to call as origin. And through a graph, usually going to have four coordinates representing the positive and negative values of the variables. Usually, only the northeast quadrant is going to be shown when the negative values does not exist and also have an interest rate. So the two-dimensional drawings, so showing the relationship between the two numbers. So one is that x-axis horizontal line, the vertical line should be y-axis. So the perpendicular there we are going to be intersected on the point what we are able to call it as origin. So the graph should also be four quadrants representing the positive and negative values. So usually northeast quadrant is going to be shown as a negative value does not exist here. X, Y, Z. So this is positive X, Y, which will call it as under coordinate, second coordinate, third coordinate, and fourth coordinate. So here the value should be 0. So x, y, and this should be minus x, y, and this should be minus x, minus y, x. So like this, we are going to have different types of coordinates here. So what are the advantages and limitations? So advantage of this graph should be very attractive. So we should also use the bird eye view of the data, and should also easily understood by a common man. Should also facilitate the comparison of various characteristics. An impression is going to be created by them on long lasting, and theorems and results of the statistics should be visualized clearly. When it comes to limitation, there are visual aids and cannot be considered as an alternative for the numerical data. So though the theorems and results should be clearly visualized, so we should also be create more accurate than tables. That only tables can be used for other analysis and should also lead easily. So possibly you can able to create a wrong impressions using programs. So advantages is that it should be very attractive So it should be able to view the bird's view of the data in a single shot and easily understood by a common man itself by seeing that. So no need of knowledge people is going to be required and should also facilitate the comparison easily and should also be makes impression created by them through a long lasting and the theorems and results statistics should be utilized. And limitation is that they are visually aids and cannot be considered as alternative for numerical data. And though the theorems and results should be easily visualized, so it should also be create a more accurate tables. But tables can be used for further analysis and should also lead to easy misread easily, so to possible to create the wrong impressions using colors. So what are the principles you have to be follow for this? So you have to be choose the title. So it gives the information about the diagram. The next one is that scale. So the selection of scale. The selection of scale should be neither too small, neither too large, but also represent the size of unit, neatness, attractive. So it should also be made through different types of lines, shades, colors used, originality. So it should also be helps the observer to see the details with accuracy and simplicity is going to be there. So which where the good diagram depending on the is easy with which the observer can interpret and economy where the cost and level should be accessible to all. So these are some of the principles we have to be followed. So next, what are the different types of graphs we are going to have for presentation? Different types of diagrams and presentation. So histogram, frequency curve, frequency polygon, or give line graphs. So these are some of the graphs we have. And diagrams will be bar diagram and bar diagram. So again, this bar diagram will have different types like simple bar, composite, multiple bar, component bar, percentage bar, and deviation. So these are the different types of diagrams we are going to have. So let's see one by one. So very first thing is the bar graph. So bar graph is going to displace the data by using the bars of different width on a grid, and these bars may be of different types like vertical and horizontal. So what are you going to think the graphs are going to represent? So vertical graph should be like this, and horizontal graph should be like this. So here I'm going to consider the months on the x-axis that should be independent, where the dependent should be so the number of sales on y-axis. And if I'm going to rotate that, so horizontal graph, so same thing I can represent. So the bar graph is going to be displays the data by using the bars of equal width on the grid and should also be vertical and horizontal. And next one is that pictograph. So pictograph is that which is going to show the pictures and symbols to represent the data. That means each picture or symbol can represent more than one subject, one object, and the key able to tell when what each picture represents. Suppose I'm going to represent so the number of persons in 2000 and 2010 and 2020. So I want to represent the number of people in 2000 year. So what is the population? That's how I can able to present a diagram. Each diagram is going to represent it should be around. So in 2000, I want to show it as 200. So I can able to write two persons. If it is 300, I can able to write three diagrams. So one diagram is going to represent 100. So like this, I can able to represent the picture uh, using pictograph. So here the percentages represents a month of 80% is course I want to present. So for this, it should be 180%. Next one is that broken line graph. So graph showing the data items is going to be joined by line segment to show the trends over the time. So I'm going to take x-axis number of days on x-axis and number of magazines on y-axis. I want to know, so the number of magazines that is comes in one day, it should be around 20. And number of magazines on Tuesday it should be 25. The number of magazines in Wednesday is 45. And number of magazines in Thursday is 50. Like this we want to show. So how to construct on this triangles. So like this we can able to construct the line graph. So by constructing a line segment which is going to be trended over the time. And next one is that continuous line graph. So graph whose points which is a line between the two controllers is going to have some meaning. So very first thing is that dependent and dependent. So independent is that I want to show the line data with respect to time, right? So independent heating time is this and dependent water temperature. So I want to show. So by joining these numbers, I can able to get a continuous graph with respect to time. So 1 minute, 2 minutes, and 3 minutes, 4 minutes. So this should be the continuous data. And next one is that scatter plot. So scatter plot is nothing but a graph of data with set of points. So you can able to do that. So if the scatter plot is look like this, the data is going to be linear. Suppose if the scatter plot is going to have like this, then there is no correlation between items. So if I'm going to have the data like this, then you know the correlation should be highly positive. So like this, I can able to segregate symbols from the scatter plot. And next one is that histogram. So histogram is going to be represented by a set of rectangular bars, and vertical bars are going to be taken on x-axis and then y-axis. So with the class interval base between them, so high proportional to the class frequency is going to be drawn. So the set of rectangular bars show the data should be histogram. So the total area under the histogram represents the total frequency and frequency distribution which we have class intervals, and mode of the distribution can be obtained from the histogram. So the histogram is something different from the bar chart. So where you can able to represent the values in between the intervals. And frequency curve, so this is the under variation of the histogram. So here the variables are going to be taken on x-axis and frequencies on y-axis. And the frequencies are going to be plotted against the class mid values, and which is going to be drawn by a smooth. So once we constructed histogram, so here we have to construct all these values. So in between the interval and the next interval. So the frequency curve, so the variables is going to be taken on x-axis, and this curve the obtained is should be in the form of frequency. And frequency polygon means, so this should also be same. So where you can able to construct histogram. If we are going to be join all the midpoints of this rectangle, if I join with this move the line, so then I can put it called as frequency polygon. So here also the variable should be taken on x-axis and frequencies on y-axis. So the class frequencies are going to be plotted against the mid values, and the figure what we are going to obtain, the figure so obtained is called as the frequency polygon. So the total area under the frequency is represents the total frequency. And next one is that ogives. So ogive is under cumulative frequency curve. So here the ogive should be a smooth curve with the cumulative frequencies, which is going to be plotted against the values of variable. You are able to call it as class limits. And class limits are going to be taken along x-axis, and cumulative frequencies are going to be considered on y-axis. So this should be the time boundary and this should be the cumulative frequency. So there are two types of views. So less than cumulative frequency and greater than cumulative frequency, that is less than audio and greater than audio. So here the audios is something different from frequency, what the previous one, frequency polygon and frequency curve, what I just saw. So this should be something different. So here again, I have to construct the cumulative frequencies curve. So this one you have to construct. So gives you also nothing but a smooth graph. So it is constructed over the frequency curve with the class interval, and the class limit should be considered x-axis, and cumulative frequency curve should be considered y-axis. So there are two types of views, like less than cumulative curve and greater than cumulative curve. And different types of views what we're able to have, that is less than view and then greater than view. So less than view, so the cumulative frequency should be less than the cumulative frequency, and the value what I obtained should be greater than frequency. It should be in this. So here the variables are going to be taken along x-axis and less than the cumulative frequencies along the y-axis. And here the variables are going to be taken on x-axis and greater than cumulative frequency is going to be considered on y-axis. So the cumulative frequency curves is going to be plotted against respective variables, whereas this greater than cumulative curves is going to be plotted against the respective variables. And these variables can be joined by a smooth curve, whereas these points are going to join by a smooth curve, which should be formed n greater than cumulative curve. And here the resulting graph what we can able to obtain is that okay. So the two ogives can be drawn simultaneously, and this point of intersection of the two ogives is going to be show the median point of distribution, and ogive is going to be used to locate the partitioning values. So this should be the presentation of ogive. So here in between the rating, so these are the frequencies, and cumulative frequencies I'm writing. So now these cumulative frequencies are writing. So this is the initial value, right? So in this initial value, so how to construct, how to add, make and add up with the frequency. So 20 plus frequency, how much? 30. And 34 plus 50, 45. 49 plus 2, 51. And 51 plus 1, 52. So like this, you can able to construct the cumulative frequency. If it is greater than the original frequency, so how can I will try for 52 greater than 32, 3, and 1. So like this, we can able to construct the cumulative frequency table also by considering less than frequency curve and then negative frequency curve. The next one is that line graph, what we are able to call it as time series graph. So here you can this one is can be used to compare two variables plotted on x and y axis, and this x-axis is going to represent the number of times, and y is going to represent the percentage frequency measures of the quantity. And we are going to be organize and present the data in clear manner and showing the relationship between the data. So the line graph is going to display a change in direction where it should be shows the trend of the event that should be occur with respect to time, whether it is increased or decreased. So by constructing this line graph, so I can able to design this product P1 and product P2 and product P3. So by seeing this graph, I can able to decide the P1 is goes every year. This should be goes on decreasing. So there should be some little fluctuations in product P3, and then the number of sales in product 2 is so on increasing every year. So that is the assumption I can able to make the line graph. So like this, we are going to be considering different types of line graphs and all. So in this video, I discussed what are the different types of uh, tables for presentation. So here the tabulation should be of different types. So principles of tabulation and precautions and types of tables. So based on purpose and type and based on the content, we can able to define the tables. So based on purpose means it should be a reference table and text table. So based on content mean it should be simple and then complex. And So the graph, so graph advantages and limitations. So graph should be very attractive, which use the board's view of the data, easily understand the common man itself, and should also facilitate the comparison of various characteristics. So the principle is that here you can be able to follow different presentations of the data and classification. So normally are going to have different types of graph like histogram, frequency curve, frequency polygon, ogive and line graph, whereas in diagrams we are going to have bar diagram and pie diagram. So again this bar is going to have simple bar, component bar, multiple bar deviation. So the bar should be either different types, simple, composite and multiple. So a pictogram is which is going to be used to show the represents and symbols to display the data. And broken line graph here should be one of the form of line graph. And continuous line graph means where the line where the data is going to be changes with respect to line. And scatter plot, so this should be the graph of set of points. So if the all those points should be line linearly, then we have a positive correlation. So if all the lines is going to have some other different places, so there is no correlation between the items. So histogram, so it should be something different from the bar chart. It should be constructed based on the class interval. And frequency curve, so this one is going to be constructed when the histogram is done by joining all the midpoints of the rectangle. And frequency polygon also same, which is going to join all the midpoints of the rectangle by a line. And ogive is going to be constructed on cumulative frequencies curve. So there are different types of ogives like less than ogive and greater than ogive. So less than ogive, so the variables are going to consider, and less than cumulative frequency is going to consider on the axis. And less than ogive and greater than ogive are the two types. So this is the representation. And if I'm going to join to the intersection point of two ogives, is going to give the median of the values. And line graph, so it should be also called as a time series graph, which should be plotted along the time. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.